3 years of sacrifice. 3 years of late nights, weekends lost, birthdays missed. 3 years of proving myself, waiting for a promise to finally be kept. And in the end, the promotion went to Lily. 8 weeks. That's all she'd been here. 8 weeks of smiling, of leaning on family ties. My father-in-law, Arthur, the boss, raised his glass like a king crowning his heir. I'm thrilled to announce our new regional director, my brilliant niece, Lily Monroe. The conference room erupted in applause, laughter, champagne glasses clinking. But I couldn't move. My hands stayed flat in my lap, heavy, like they no longer belonged to me. My chest felt hollow, my smile stretched and artificial. I forced my palms together in slow, mechanical claps. Each sound echoed back, empty. Arthur's eyes brushed against mine for a moment. There was something there, something fleeting. Guilt. Or maybe defiance. Then he looked away, his voice coated in that tone I'd grown to despise. Amy has been such a wonderful mentor to Lily. I know she'll continue to support her in every way. Support. The word burned in my mouth. 3 years of 60-hour weeks. 3 years of dragging myself home long after Joseph and the kids had gone to bed. 3 years building this department from 12 employees to 47. And now, I was supposed to support the woman who'd stepped into the role promised to me. I smiled. I even whispered congratulations. And then I resigned.
Calm.
Collected. A smile plastered on my face that didn't reach my eyes. After the meeting, I walked back to my office. My legs felt like glass, ready to shatter. My nameplate still read Amy Hayes, Senior Operations Manager. It felt like a lie now. The room I had built, the team I had nurtured, none of it belonged to me anymore. Margaret from accounting brushed my shoulder, her voice soft. I'm so sorry, honey. She meant well, but pity only deepened the wound. Behind my desk, I stared at the wall where my 3 Employee of the Year plaques hung in perfect order. 3 years. 3 plaques. Proof of everything I had given. Proof that meant nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from Joseph. How did the announcement go? Finally official. I held the screen for a long time, the words blurring before typing back. We'll talk tonight. The rest of the day dragged in a haze of fake smiles and sidelong glances. Colleagues avoided my eyes, as if betrayal might be contagious. By 5 o'clock, my jaw ached from holding that mask in place. And then Arthur appeared in my doorway. His large frame filled the space, his silver hair glowing under the office light. Amy, could I have a word? I gestured to the chair across from me. The same chair he'd sat in 3 months ago, assuring me the promotion was mine. Of course. He sat down, clearing his throat. I know today was difficult for you. Was it? My voice was even professional. You're incredibly valuable to this company, he said. Lily's going to need someone with your experience to guide her. I'd like you to take on a senior advisory role. Help her succeed. Train her. That's what he meant. Train her to do the job I had already mastered. I leaned back, studying him. This man I had once admired. The patriarch of both the company and the family. The man I had trusted. And now, he looked small.
Weak.
His words twisted into betrayal dressed up as opportunity. Arthur, I asked quietly. 3 months ago you told me this promotion was mine. That I'd earned it. What changed? His hand fidgeted with his wedding ring. His eyes dropped. Business needs evolve. Lily brings fresh perspective. New ideas. 8 weeks of fresh perspective over 3 years of results. Amy, you're taking this too personally.
Too personally.
My career. My life. The years I'd traded away. How else was I supposed to take it? Your family, he said, as if that explained everything. Family looks out for each other. Lily needed this opportunity. You're secure. You don't need it the way she does. There it was. The truth stripped bare. I was family, which meant I was expendable. Reliable Amy. The one expected to sacrifice. The one who should be grateful for whatever scraps were left. I see. My voice was calm, my hands steady as I gathered my purse and jacket. I should get home. Joseph's making dinner tonight. Relief softened his face. Give my son my love. And thank you, Amy, for being so understanding. Understanding. The word rang in my ears as my heels struck against the marble floor of the lobby.
Sharp. Cold.
Final. Arthur called it understanding. That's what he named betrayal when someone rolled over and accepted being stabbed in the back. The drive home stretched on forever. Red brake lights bled across the highway like an endless line of wounds. Cars inched forward, one miserable mile at a time, while his words kept replaying in my head. Family looks out for each other. Except, apparently, not for me. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the sun was sinking low, painting the sky in bruised shades of orange and violet. Joseph's car was already there. Warm light glowed behind our kitchen windows, soft and inviting. Home had always been my sanctuary, the one place where I could breathe without pretending. But tonight, even that safe space felt poisoned. How was I supposed to walk in and tell Joseph his father had gutted my career with a smile and a champagne toast? I stayed in the car, engine off, hands clenched around the steering wheel. Outside, neighbors strolled down the sidewalks with their dogs, watering their gardens, laughing at nothing. Normal lives. Ordinary problems. Meanwhile, my world had tilted violently off its axis. Tomorrow I'd have to go back. I'd have to plaster on a smile, sit at my desk, and train my own replacement while my heart split open, piece by piece. But tonight, I just sat in the silence, letting the weight of it all crush me. When I finally walked through the front door, Joseph had already set the table. The smell of his lasagna, my favorite, hung in the air. Normally, it meant comfort. Family. Tonight, it only made my stomach turn. One look at my face, and Joseph pulled out a chair. His eyes searched mine.
Seat.
Tell me everything.
So I did.
I told him about the champagne toast. About Arthur's dismissal of my 3 years of sacrifice. About the insult of being expected to train Lily, as if it were an honor. With every word, Joseph's jaw grew tighter, his knuckles whitening as they gripped the stem of his wine glass. He actually said you didn't need the promotion? That you were secure here? His voice carried an edge I almost never heard. Word for word. Joseph shoved back from the table, running his hands through his dark hair. I'm calling him. Right now. No, I reached across, gripping his wrist. This isn't your fight. It's mine. But the damage was done. The conversation I dreaded was over, and Joseph's anger burned hot. Not at me, but at his own father. Another fracture Arthur had created. Another casualty of his decision. The next morning I walked into the office wearing my mask again. The mask of the calm professional. The mentor. The reliable one. Inside, I was unraveling. At 9 sharp, Lily bounced into my office, carrying a color-coded planner and enough artificial cheer to choke me. Amy, I'm so excited to learn from you. Uncle Arthur says you know this department better than anyone. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Let's start with the Morrison account. They're our biggest client. They've been with us since before you were born. For 2 hours, I walked her through years of hard-won knowledge, client histories, preferences, delicate balances I had learned to maintain with patience and instinct. She scribbled notes as if cramming for an exam, her questions betraying just how green she was. So, if Mr. Morrison calls upset about delays, what do? You don't make promises you can't keep. You listen. You acknowledge. You give him a realistic timeline, always with a buffer. But what if he threatens to take his business elsewhere? I stopped, studying her flawless face, her perfect hair, her expensive suit. She had no idea what she was holding in her hands. Morrison Industries represents 30% of our revenue. If we lose them, 47 people lose their jobs. I paused. Including you. Her pen froze mid-word. Oh, by lunch, my patience was gone. Years of trial and error, my scars, my lessons, I was expected to pour into her in a single day. The breaking point came as I stood in the break room, heating up soup. The walls of this old building were thin, and Arthur's booming voice carried easily from his office next door. The transition is going perfectly. Lily's picking things up quickly. Are you sure Amy's okay with all this? Lily's voice. Young. Hesitant. I stepped closer to the wall, soup forgotten, breath shallow. Amy's dependable, Arthur said, his voice dripping with authority. But we need fresh ideas. Energy. Lily is our future. His words hit like ice water. She's good at following instructions, maintaining the status quo, he continued, but that's not what we need. Clients lean on her too much. She's become their crutch. We need to shake things up. Push them out of their comfort zones. I gripped the counter, the metal edge digging into my palm. My relationships weren't weaknesses. They were lifelines. 3 years of trust dismissed as complacency. But she worked hard for this, Lily pressed, uncertainty coloring her tone. She's family, Arthur said smoothly. She'll understand. Sometimes sacrifices are necessary for the greater good. Besides, he chuckled, and the sound made bile rise in my throat. Where else would she go at her age? She's 42, Lily. 42. To him, that number was a death sentence. Proof I was replaceable, disposable, a relic in my own story. Predictable, reliable, no other choice. Arthur's words cut deeper than the glass edge of the counter I was gripping. My knuckles blanched white as I fought the urge to storm into his office, slam the door behind me, and finally tell him exactly what I thought of his greater good. Lily's voice drifted through the wall, softer, uneasy. I feel bad. She's been so kind training me. I can tell she's hurt. Arthur's tone hardened. That's because you have a good heart. But business isn't about feelings. Amy will adapt. She always does. That's what makes her useful. She's steady, predictable. She'll do whatever we ask because she doesn't have any other choice. No other choice. The words lodged inside me like a shard of ice. I picked up my soup, my hands trembling, and walked back to my office. This wasn't the kind of anger that blazes and burns out. No. This was colder, sharper. The kind of fury that seeps into your bones and settles there, hardening into resolve. For 3 years, I believed in the story I told myself, that my loyalty mattered, that my sacrifices meant something. But the truth was brutal. I was never more than a placeholder. A reliable babysitter for his clients until his chosen heir was ready. And the worst part? He was right about one thing. I had been predictable. I had swallowed every slight, smiled through every humiliation, told myself it would all pay off. That faith kept me chained. Not anymore. By the time I sat at my desk, staring at the row of Employee of the Year plaques, something inside me had shifted. The woman who walked into this building that morning was gone. In her place was someone new. Someone done begging for scraps. I kept training Lily that afternoon. My tone professional. My explanations clear. But inside, I was documenting my worth. Every question she asked revealed the depth of what I knew and what she didn't. Every answer reminded me just how much value I carried. Not for Arthur. Not for Lily. For me. When 5 o'clock came, I packed up my bag with deliberate calm. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more revelations. But tonight, I had decisions to make. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table, my laptop glowing in the quiet. A cup of tea sat untouched, growing cold beside me. Joseph was working late, which gave me the solitude I needed. I'd been thinking about this moment for weeks. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, steady now. And then I began to type. Dear Arthur, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation from my position as Senior Operations Manager at Alden Ventures. My last day of employment will be Friday, March 15th, providing the standard 2 weeks notice. I want to thank you for the opportunities I've had here over the past 3 years. I've learned a great deal and am grateful for the experience. I wish the company continued success in the future. Sincerely, Amy Hayes. Short. Professional. Final. I read it 3 times. With each pass, a strange peace washed over me. No anger. No accusations. Just a clean, dignified exit from a place that had drained me dry. I printed it on our home printer, signed it with my favorite pen, and slid the paper into a crisp, white envelope. Then I closed the laptop, turned off the light, and slept better than I had in weeks. The next morning, I dressed with intention. My navy power suit, the one that always reminded me of my own strength. Pearl earrings from my grandmother, her gift, her blessing. If this day was going to be memorable, I wanted to look the part. I arrived at the office early. The halls were quiet, the air still. I placed the envelope squarely in the center of my desk, then carried on with my routine. Emails, reports, even helped Tom from accounting untangle a spreadsheet formula. On the surface, nothing had changed. But everything had. At exactly 10, I picked up the envelope and walked to Arthur's office. Marie, his secretary of 15 years, looked up with her warm smile. "Good morning, Amy. He's just finishing a call."
No rush.
"I'll wait." Marie had always been kind. Our morning chats about her grandchildren, her little stories. Would she even notice I was gone? Probably not. People come and go. Secretaries stay. Arthur's door opened. He emerged mid-call, his voice booming about quarterly projections, his expression harried. He waved me in, barely glancing my way. I sat in the chair across from his desk, the same chair where he had once promised me a future. I placed the envelope in the middle of his desk.
Silent. Steady.
He ended the call and looked at me, impatience in his eyes. "What can I do for you, Amy?" "I'm slammed until 3. "Open it." He picked up the envelope, tore it open with his letter opener.
His eyes scanned the words.
I watched the shift, the confusion, the disbelief, the flush creeping across his face. "You can't be serious." His voice exploded, rattling the desk. He shot to his feet, the chair rolling backward. "This is a joke, right? Some kind of negotiating tactic." I kept my hands folded neatly in my lap. My voice calm. "I'm completely serious. Amy, we just promoted Lily 2 weeks ago. You can't abandon ship now. She needs your guidance, your expertise. The Morrison account. We'll be fine." I cut in. "Lily's very enthusiastic. I'm sure she'll figure it out." Arthur began to pace, his silver hair catching the light as he raked his hands through it. His voice dropped, a mix of panic and command. "This is about the promotion, isn't it?" Arthur's voice cracked with impatience. "Look, I know you're disappointed, but we can talk about other opportunities. A new title. More responsibilities." "Stop." The word froze him mid-step. He stared at me as though he didn't recognize the woman standing in front of him. My voice was calm, but absolute. "This isn't about the promotion anymore. This is about respect. And I finally realized I don't have any here." His face tightened. "That's not true. You're valued, Amy. Your family." I stood slowly, smoothing the fabric of my skirt, my movements deliberate.
"No."
"I'm not. Family would have told me the truth. Family wouldn't have let me train my own replacement without saying a word. Family wouldn't have stood behind a closed door and called me predictable, reliable, and claimed I had no options." The color drained from his face. "You heard that conversation. Every word." Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating, the weight of 3 years pressing down between us. Arthur sank into his chair, suddenly looking smaller, older. A man crumbling under the truths he had tried to bury. "Amy, please. Let's talk about this rationally. Whatever you think you heard, maybe you misunderstood." I shook my head, my voice steady, sharp. I understood perfectly. I walked toward the door, my hand on the handle, then paused. "You were right about one thing, though. I have been predictable. I've spent 3 years making excuses, convincing myself loyalty would eventually matter. But I'm done being predictable." Desperation crept into his voice. "What do you want? More money? A corner office? Name it." I turned, looking at him one last time. "I want to work somewhere that sees potential, not limits. Somewhere that doesn't treat 42 as if it's too old for fresh ideas." His mouth opened, but I was already walking out. Marie looked up as I passed her desk, concern etched across her face. She'd heard the raised voices. "Everything okay, honey?" I gave her a smile. "Real this time." "Everything's going to be just fine, Marie. Take care of yourself." Back in my office, I felt lighter than I had in months. The decision was made. The words had been spoken. No more chains. I had 2 weeks left. 2 weeks to tie loose ends, to hand off projects, to say goodbye to a chapter that had taught me more about myself than I'd ever imagined. The phone on my desk was already ringing when I sat down. News traveled fast in an office this small. And I had a feeling the next 2 weeks were going to be interesting. For the first time since that champagne toast in the conference room, I was actually looking forward to what came next. 2 weeks later, I was home, reorganizing my little office, the silence of unemployment pressing in. I'd spent my days updating my resume, reaching out on LinkedIn, trying to chart the path forward. The phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Something told me to answer. "Hello, this is Amy Hayes." "Ms. Hayes, this is Rebecca Chin from Horizon Tech. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." Horizon Tech. My hand tightened around the coffee mug. They were one of the fastest-growing companies in the region, innovative, bold, known for promoting on merit, not bloodlines. "Not at all," I said carefully. "How can I help you?" "I'll get straight to the point. Your name came up in a conversation with Daniel Morrison yesterday. He spoke very highly of your work at Alden Ventures. Suggested we reach out." Daniel Morrison. 3 years of calls, late nights, weekends. I'd wondered if he even noticed I was gone. My chest tightened. "That's very kind of him," I managed. "We have an opening for a regional operations director, overseeing 3 departments, managing our largest clients. Daniel believes you'd be perfect. Would you be interested in hearing more?" My pulse quickened. This wasn't just another job. This was the position I'd been denied. Bigger. Better. Exactly what I had earned. Only this time, without the strings. I'd be very interested. An hour later, I had the details in my inbox. The salary was 30% higher. The benefits included stock options. And the title, Regional Operations Director, was the very one I had once dreamed of. The interview process moved quickly. Rebecca introduced me to the team leads I would manage. They were sharp, driven, and refreshingly genuine. No hidden agendas. No family politics. Just professionals eager to build something real. My final interview was with Marcus Williams, the CEO himself. A man known for rewarding merit, not connections. "Tell me," he asked, leaning forward, "why did you leave Alden Ventures?" "Daniel said you'd been there for several years." I'd rehearsed my answer a dozen times. But looking into the eyes of a man who built a culture on respect, I chose honesty. "I hit a ceiling," I said. And that ceiling had nothing to do with my performance or potential. I realized loyalty without respect isn't loyalty. It's servitude. Marcus studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "We don't believe in ceilings here, Amy. We believe in earned advancement, in mutual respect. Does that sound like something you could work with?" A smile spread across my face. "It sounds like everything I've been looking for." 3 days later, Rebecca called with the offer. It exceeded even my best-case scenario. Reading through the contract, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pure, unfiltered excitement about work. Not dread. Not exhaustion. Excitement. My first day at Horizon Tech was like stepping onto another planet. The building was glass and steel, flooded with light. No dark corners. No suffocating silence. Open spaces where people actually collaborated. Technology that didn't glitch every 5 minutes. But more than the shiny architecture, it was the people. From the moment I walked in, I wasn't just tolerated. I was welcomed, valued, seen. Sarah Martinez, who had been holding operations together in the interim, could have resented me, could have guarded her territory. Instead, she walked me through every active project, her tone eager, her eyes bright. "I've been looking forward to this," she said. "Rebecca told me about your experience with big clients. We've been struggling with the Anderson Group. Honestly, we could use your expertise." Expertise. Not reliability. Not predictability. Expertise. The word landed like a lifeline. Within my first week, I was leading strategy sessions, making decisions that mattered. When I proposed restructuring client communications, drawing on all the painful lessons I'd learned at Alden, Marcus didn't just nod politely.
He leaned in.
He listened. Then, he asked me to present my plan to the board. "You've been doing this for 3 years?" he asked afterward. "And they never promoted you to director?" I allowed myself a bitter smile. Apparently, I was too predictable for leadership. Marcus laughed, shaking his head at the absurdity. "Their loss is our gain. Predictability in results is exactly what leadership should deliver." The Anderson Group meeting was my trial by fire. They'd been on the verge of leaving Horizon. Communication failures. Missed deadlines. Frustration piled high. I spent 2 days preparing, pulling every ounce of experience from my years of client management. The meeting stretched past 3 hours. By the end, not only had we kept their business, we expanded it by 40%. Sarah's eyes were wide as we walked back to the office. "How did you do that?" "I listened," I said simply. "I stopped trying to tell them what they should want. I gave them what they actually needed." Word spread fast. Suddenly, department heads were at my door, asking for my input. Marcus started pulling me into executive meetings. After one particularly charged session, he turned to me with a thoughtful look. I think we undervalued this role when we created it. Would you be open to expanded responsibilities?" At Alden, expanded responsibilities had meant more work, zero recognition. Here it meant opportunity, real growth. By the end of my first month, I wasn't just managing operations, I was spearheading client retention initiatives. My team had grown from 12 to 18. Our metrics were climbing higher than they'd been in years. Every morning, walking into Horizon, I remembered what it felt like to be trusted, to be respected, to have my ideas implemented instead of shelved. The contrast with Alden was blinding. There, I'd wasted 3 years proving myself to people who had already decided I didn't matter. Here, my worth was assumed. My only job was to multiply it. For the first time in my career, I knew what it felt like to work somewhere merit was valued over politics. 3 months in, the whispers started reaching me. Gossip always finds a way. At a quarterly networking event, I ran into Janet Mills from Pacific Financial, one of Alden's smaller accounts. "Amy, Horizon, huh? Good for you." Her smile was polite, but her eyes said more. "Things have been interesting since you left." I kept my face neutral. "Oh, well, let's just say our new contact isn't exactly you. 3 weeks to return a call? That never happened on your watch." Before I could respond, someone whisked her away. But her words stuck. 3 weeks. I'd built my reputation on same-day answers, on being there when clients needed me. 2 weeks later, the next crack came from a place I didn't expect. Daniel Morrison himself. He called me directly. "Amy, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I have a professional question, but also a bit of a heads up." "Of course, Daniel. What's going on?" "We're probably ending our relationship with Alden this quarter." My stomach tightened. Morrison Industries. Their biggest client. A loss that would hit like a wrecking ball. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said carefully. "Can I ask what happened?" Daniel sighed, the weight in his voice heavy. "Remember those monthly strategy calls we used to do? Where you'd walk me through projections, adjust for market shifts?" "Of course." "Well, your replacement, Lily, I think. She's already missed the last 2. When Daniel told me what happened, I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. "She finally called back," he said, his voice clipped, "but she couldn't answer a single question about our account. Kept saying she'd follow up. Those follow-ups never came." I closed my eyes. I could already see Arthur's face when the news landed. The denial, the anger, the excuses. Then Daniel's voice hardened. The final straw was last week. A delivery crisis. $2 million of inventory sitting in the wrong warehouse. Remember how you used to handle those? Drop everything. Call logistics. Update us by the hour until it was fixed. "I remember," I whispered. Lily told us to file a complaint through the proper channels. Said she'd look into it when she had time. Amy, she treated a $2 million crisis like it was paperwork. I pressed my hand against my desk, fighting back a storm of emotions. There was a dark satisfaction, proof of what I'd always known, but under it real grief, for the company I had poured myself into,
For the people who still depended on it.
I'm sorry it came to that, I said. I know Arthur valued your partnership. Daniel's laugh was bitter. That's just it.
I don't think he did.
When I finally reached him, he brushed me off, told me Lily represented the new direction, said if we couldn't adapt, maybe we weren't the right fit anymore. My jaw tightened. Arthur had actually dared his largest client to walk.
Pride over sense.
Ego over reality. Daniel's tone softened. Amy, I want you to know, this isn't personal toward Alden Ventures. It's about service. That's why I gave Horizon your name. Honestly, best business advice I've given in years. After we hung up, I sat there in silence. Morrison Industries gone. 15 people minimum would lose their jobs. These weren't numbers on a spreadsheet. They were colleagues. People I'd eaten lunch with. People who'd celebrated birthdays in the break room. Now, collateral damage. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. Amy? Rebecca wants to see you. I found Rebecca in her office, papers and reports spread across her desk. Her expression unreadable. Sit down, she said. I've been hearing things about Alden Ventures. My stomach sank. Was this going to come back on me? Did she think I'd engineered all of this? The Morrison account was a big win, Rebecca continued. But apparently, they're not the only ones leaving. 3 more companies reached out this week. All of them mentioned your name. Relief hit me like a rush of air. Really? She nodded. You left an impression. The question is, how do you want to handle this? These could be big opportunities. But I want us to move ethically. I nodded slowly. As long as we're answering real inquiries, not poaching, we're on solid ground. They have service issues. We can solve them. Her smile was small but sure. My thoughts exactly. Would you be willing to lead the pitches? Absolutely. Over the next month, Horizon signed 4 new clients.
4.
All former Alden accounts. Each conversation was the same. Frustration. Missed deadlines. Silence where there should have been communication. And each time, I walked a delicate line, defending the hardworking staff still inside Alden while proving why Horizon was the future. They're in transition, I would say carefully. But here, we can give you the consistency you deserve. The hardest moment came one night when my phone rang at home. Margaret from accounting. Her voice trembling. Amy, I hope you don't mind me calling. Joseph gave me your number. Of course not, Margaret. How are you? Her breath hitched. Honestly? Terrible. Rumors are flying about layoffs. Morrison's gone.
3 more clients gone.
People are saying it's because you left, that you took the relationships with you. Margaret, that's not. I'm not blaming you, she cut in. We all saw how they treated you. But some of us, we've been here for decades. We have kids in college. Mortgages. If the company folds, her voice broke, and the weight of it pressed down on me. This wasn't the outcome I'd wanted. I'd wanted Arthur to see my value, not watch good people lose their jobs. Are you looking for something new? I asked gently. At my age? 58. Who's going to hire me? I thought about Horizon's expansion, about the positions we'd need to fill. Margaret, can I give Rebecca your name? We're going to need experienced financial support. The relief in her voice was instant. Amy, if you do that for me, you're good at what you do. And that should matter more than politics or age. After I hung up, I sat for a long time in the quiet of my kitchen. Something had shifted. This wasn't about watching Alden collapse anymore. It was about people finding new places, better places where their work mattered, where loyalty was matched with respect. Arthur's lesson was now public for the entire industry to see. Put politics above competence and you don't just lose good employees. You lose the ground beneath your company's feet. 6 months after Margaret joined Horizon Tech, an envelope arrived that stopped me in my tracks. Heavy cardstock. Embossed lettering. Formal. almost regal. Arthur Alden requests the pleasure of your company at the Alden Ventures annual awards dinner. I held it in my hands, staring at the words. My pulse quickened. What game was Arthur playing now? That evening, Joseph found me in the kitchen, the cards still turning between my fingers like a loaded coin. You're not seriously considering it, he said, reading over my shoulder. Actually, I think I am. He stared at me like I'd suggested walking into a lion's cage. Amy, why? Why put yourself through that? Because I'm not the woman who left that building in tears. I want to face them. I want to see who I've become. The grand ballroom downtown glowed that night, chandeliers spilling golden light across polished floors. I'd been here before, 3 years of the same dinners, the same speeches, the same forced applause. But tonight, everything was different. I walked in wearing emerald silk, a dress that made me feel strong, unapologetic. But it wasn't just the dress. It was the way I carried myself. Straight-backed, certain, unafraid. Rebecca had insisted on coming with me. Moral support, she'd said, though I knew curiosity played its part. She wanted to see this place that had been foolish enough to let me go. The cocktail hour was as awkward as I'd predicted. Former colleagues drifted toward me, smiles too careful, words too cautious. Some seemed genuinely glad to see me thriving. Others avoided eye contact, as if my presence was a reminder of choices they wished they hadn't made. Near the bar, Tom from accounting pulled me aside. Amy, we miss you. They're not the same. How's everyone adjusting at Horizon? I kept my answer diplomatic. He lowered his voice. Seeing Margaret land with you, it opened our eyes. Some of us are finally looking around, too. Sometimes you don't realize how much you've settled until someone else refuses to. Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. Arthur stepped onto the stage. He looked older, smaller somehow, the silver hair thinner, the shoulders less certain. The commanding man I'd once respected now seemed worn down by his own pride. Welcome, he began, his voice steady but heavy. It's been a challenging year for Alden Ventures. A year of lessons. Lessons in adaptation. Lessons in leadership. Lessons in recognizing talent wherever it may be found. His eyes found me across the room, and for a moment, time froze. Neither of us looked away. The ceremony unfolded as it always had, awards for sales, for customer service, for innovation. But the energy felt hollow, like Arthur was trying to conjure the past with sheer will. Then the twist. Our final award tonight, Arthur announced, is new. The Excellence in Leadership Award. It goes to someone who may no longer be with us, but whose impact continues to shape the way we do business. My chest tightened.
No.
Amy Hayes, would you please join us on stage? The room erupted in applause. I couldn't move. Frozen. Rebecca touched my arm. Her whisper was soft, certain.
Go.
This is your moment. The walk to the stage felt like miles. My heart pounded in my throat, every step louder than the applause.
Arthur met me halfway.
He held out a crystal award that caught the ballroom lights and scattered them into 1,000 fractured stars. Amy, he said, your dedication and commitment set a standard that continues to inspire this team. Though we're sorry you've moved on, tonight we honor the foundation you built. I took the microphone. Faces stared back, faces I'd laughed with, argued with, built with. Some smiling, some uneasy, some, like Lily at Arthur's family table, burning with embarrassment. Thank you, I began, my voice steady, though inside I shook. My years at Alden Ventures taught me many lessons. About business.
About people.
But most importantly, about worth. Knowing your own. The room hushed. I've learned loyalty matters. But only when it isn't one-sided. That hard work means little if it's never recognized. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do for your career and your life is to walk away from places that no longer serve your growth. Applause followed, but scattered. Uneasy. A ripple of truth spreading across the room. I drew a breath. I am grateful for my time here, because it brought me to where I am now, at a company that values merit over politics. where ideas are heard no matter who speaks them, where ceilings don't exist. I handed the mic back. Arthur's smile was tight,
Strained.
his mask slipping. "Thank you again for this recognition," I said, turning toward my old colleagues. "And remember, you have more power than you think. Use it." The silence was sharp as glass. Then Margaret.
Clapping.
Tom joined. Others followed. Not everyone, but enough to shift the air in the room. Afterward, as Rebecca and I gathered our things, Arthur approached. "Amy," he said, voice low. "May I have a word?" Rebecca excused herself, leaving us face to face for the first time since my resignation. "That was quite a speech," he said. "It was honest," I replied. He nodded slowly. The pride was gone, replaced by something heavier. I suppose I deserved that. And for the first time, I saw him not as my boss, not as the man who'd dismissed me, but as someone tired, defeated. Arthur's voice was low, almost pleading. "You know, we're restructuring the leadership team. If you ever wanted to come back." "Arthur, stop." I rose to my feet, my eyes locking onto his.
My tone was calm.
"Final. 6 months ago, maybe I would have considered it. Back then, I still thought I had something to prove. But tonight, I finally understood. I don't owe proof to anyone.
Not you.
Not this company. Only to myself." His lips parted, searching for words, but I didn't let him interrupt. "The company isn't struggling because I left. It's struggling because you made decisions rooted in bloodlines instead of competence. Family loyalty over business sense. That's not a wound I can heal for you." I picked at my purse. The crystal award glinted in my hand, heavier than I expected, like a truth I'd carried for years. I hope Alden Ventures survives this storm. I really do. But my story with this place, it's finished. Leaving the ballroom, I felt something unexpected. Closure. The timid woman who once craved Arthur's approval no longer existed. In her place stood someone stronger. Someone who knew her worth and refused to shrink again. Rebecca slipped her arm through mine as we crossed into the parking garage. "So, how does it feel, having the last word?" I smiled. A real smile. Light breaking through after a long storm. Like freedom. The drive home was quiet, each of us lost in thought. For the first time in years, my silence wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. When I opened the front door, Joseph was waiting. A steaming cup of tea in his hands. Concern in his eyes. "How is it?" I set the award down on the entry table, feeling its weight settle with finality.
"Perfect," I said.
And for once, I meant it. That night, I placed the crystal award on my bookshelf, right beside a framed photo from my first day at Horizon Tech. 2 symbols. 2 markers on the same journey. One, a reminder of where I came from. The other, a promise of where I was headed. I studied that photo for a long time. The woman in it stood tall, proud, certain. She knew her value. She didn't ask permission to take up space. She wasn't waiting to be chosen. She was already enough. That woman had always been inside me. She just needed the right moment to step into the light. And in that quiet, I realized something simple but powerful. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's transformation. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be.